In our neck of the woods, sports is tradition. Sports is passion. Sports is family. Sports is fun. Welcome to our house. This is Southeast Sports Plus Live with Simone and Gerhard Mathangani.
We have talked plenty of times on this show how college football is starting to look like a lot like the NFL. Well, same thing is happening in baseball right now. For the first time ever, a big league club is going to the college level to select its next manager. Tony Vitello is headed to the San Francisco Giants as the new baseball coach. Of course, won the Men's College World Series just last year. Tony Vitello now headed to the Bay Area. Welcome to Southeast Sports Plus, a big news day to start off. Gerhard Mathangani, Patrick Walsh with you. And Patrick, this is a kind of a huge event here, not just for the professional ranks, for what it means for what we're seeing now in professional baseball, but also for the college ranks. The reigning national champion now off to the major leagues.
I mean, shocked, confused, a little bit of chaos going on. I mean, you could use any adjective in the world, and I don't think it could quite describe this. But no, we heard over the weekend that Tennessee head baseball coach Tony Vitello was apparently closing in on a deal to go ahead and manage the San Francisco Giants, and now we have been told that is official. So he will be the first MLB manager to go from the college level to the pros without any pro experience before. I mean, it's absolutely insane.
It is insane. And I think that's one of the big things that we're seeing in this kind of sea change as it relates to coaches and as it relates to the way that these franchises are managing their coaches. And baseball is obviously a lot different from football. And we'll get into the nitty-gritty of it. But a lot of them are looking for younger voices.
Yes.
A lot of them are looking for guys that are relatable to today's players. And it feels like Vitello, with his experience on the college level, seems to be a natural fit here. Whether this works or not, only time will tell, but it does seem like it points to a change that we're seeing all across coaching, not just in football, because we saw it in football with guys like Sean McVay and guys like Drew Canales that's in Carolina right now. We're seeing it in the NBA with guys like J.J. Redick, who just got a job with the Los Angeles Lakers, and other coaches who are fresh off the court, now fresh off the diamond, so to speak, now going to the pros here. It kind of represents a sea change that I'm excited about.
Yeah, and I mean, we have seen over the past few years a bit of a shift in baseball where players show their emotions a lot more now. And Tony Vitello was a coach that totally accepted it. Yeah. Nowadays, you know, you have some of the traditionalist coaches where it's like just let your playing do the talking. Go ahead, round the bases. Don't bat flip. Don't pimp home runs. Don't do anything like that. Tony Vitello is no. This is baseball. You should show your emotion. You should get fired up because I mean. The one thing that I always am going to remember about Tony Vitello at Tennessee is, ironically, a guy that he's now going to go manage in Drew Gilbert. Yeah. After he hit a walk-off grand slam in the NCAA Regional in 2022 against, I believe it was Wright State. And that bat flip, honestly, could rival Joey Bats up in Toronto.
Exactly.
I mean, it was... That was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, that was a Titanic home run. I just remember him just being exuberant. And the old rules, as you said, the old rules of baseball were all like, hey, just go to the next thing. But, I mean, we're seeing it, whether it's touchdown celebrations and just celebrations in general. I mean, today's athlete is just a lot more vibrant when it comes to sports. And so it's like, why mute that? Why pour water on that? And Vitello, he was one of those guys that really celebrated it, and it showed in his team's play. And as you mentioned before we started the show, and I want to give you credit for this, is the fact that Vitello came out and he basically took a program that was nowhere. Yes. Tennessee's athletic program obviously has a ton of great athletes, a ton of great football players, a ton of great women's basketball players under Pat Summitt, a lot of great men's basketball players, but the baseball program was somewhat dormant, and it was really Vanderbilt who stole all the limelight until he came in.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the record right here, 341 and 131, 3 College World Series appearances, 2 SEC titles. Obviously, you can't forget about 2024 when they won the College World Series title, and they were 4 home runs away from tying the all-time record set by LSU back in the 90s.
Yep.
But again, it's 2022, in my opinion, that really sticks out to me. They went 57-9. It was a disappointing season because they lost in the Super Regional to Notre Dame.
Right.
But when you could start 31-1
that's insane.
in baseball, I don't care who you play against.
Yep.
It's still baseball. Anything can happen, but 31-1.
It's insane.
I mean, that was just incredible at the time. And I went back and looked at that Game 3 of the Super Regional. 6 of the 9 starters in the starting lineup are either in the majors right now or in the minor leagues.
Wow.
And that's not even including the pitchers. I mean, you could go down the list with the pitchers who are also in the major leagues right now.
That's insane. And when you think about a guy that, and part of the reason why I think the Giants wanted him is because he can develop some of these guys. And in baseball right now, we will see where we get with the salary cap and everything else if that stuff comes into fruition. I don't necessarily think it will, but baseball is kind of going through a sea change to where I think now the manager will start to be more of a developer again. It was that role for a bit, and then now it seems like the GMs have kind of taken over the job. For Vitello, because now we're just going to play pop psychologist here. What do you think that? Because obviously he sends a lot of guys to the pros.
Yes.
And I know he knows a lot of managers in the pros.
Right.
Do you think that he believes that for him, from a challenge perspective, this is a leg up? Because when you're in college, you are the face of the program. You get to make sure all your guys are in, and it feels like you're losing a lot of that power from when it comes to roster management at the major league level.
This is I was thinking about this right before we came on. I was like, man, how is this relatable to anything?
Yeah.
Like how can you relate this? And while the correlation I'm not going to make is entirely accurate, this is probably as close to as Nick Saban going to the Miami Dolphins as you're going to get in baseball.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, Saban won a title at LSU. And then you look at Vitello, completely changed that Tennessee program. It just has a weird feeling because you don't know if this is going to work out.
Right.
Because he's the first guy to go to the pros without any pros experience.
That's true, yeah.
So, I mean, you just look at the whole situation. It feels like a giant gamble for the Giants.
Yep.
And who knows if it's going to pay off or not. But if it doesn't pay off, I can promise you one thing. He is going to come right back to the SEC if this doesn't work out for him.
So I was going to ask you that. Do you think this is a bit of like he's playing with house money? Because he understands that he can go back to college where it's like, hey, I think every college coach at one point, you take a look at I think every high school coach takes a look at the college level,
right,
and they want a piece of that. I think every college coach takes a look at the professional level, and they want a piece of that as well. You want to obviously compete with the highest and the best as far as what you do. Do you think a part of this is because Vitello is thinking to himself, hey, I can play with a little bit of house money here because I have my college national championship, and if he does want to go back to college, let's just say he gets fired after 3, 4, 5 years or wants to step down or whatever, he feels like, hey, I can go right back to the developmental area in college ball.
I think so because, as you know, being a manager in the majors is a lot different than being a head baseball coach.
That's right.
Because in the majors, you aren't really like coaching. You're just managing the game.
Yes.
You have all of your hitting coaches,
Right.
your bench coaches, and all of that, all of your position coaches. I think it's going to be the hardest challenge for him is managing all the egos.
Yep.
Because in college, when you're the head baseball coach, you're like the head honcho.
Yes.
The thing is, in the majors, they just see you as another guy.
Right.
They don't see you as like a head baseball coach. I mean, you're just, hey, Skip, how's it going? You having a good day today?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad.
And Vitello, as a college coach, you know your team. So when you go send the batting lineup to the umpires, like you know your squad. You know if your number 3 hitter has been slumping, if he failed a test, if he's if he's got a bum ankle and he needs to hit deeper, or he needs to sit out for a game or whatever. And it's up to you to decide 1 through 9 and decide your starting pitcher and who comes in middle relief if you have it, who your closer. And it feels like, and I don't know the day in, day out workings of every Major League Baseball squad, but it feels like today's day and age, that batting order is sent to you as a manager.
I can 9 times out of 10 in the majors nowadays, it's sent to you by the front office.
Right.
All you have to do is just fill it out.
Yes, and you fill it out. So to me, it feels like more of game 1 to game 162. Right. Like you said, managing egos.
Yes.
Managing guys from a headspace perspective, keeping them engaged. It's a long season. It's a much longer season than college baseball. You just put it up. College baseball, you play at the most, 70 games? 65
I think they
games?
played 78 games when they won the College World Series.
Correct, yes. So double that. More than double that. for the regular season,
Yeah.
much less for what you're doing in the postseason as well. So you have to prepare for a longer grind, a longer haul. And so I think that it does weigh on you a little bit more from a professional's perspective. But I'm really interested in that. And from the other side of that, now this is because of Vitello, this is now one of the marquee jobs in college baseball that is now up for grabs here. I'm really interested to see who Tennessee goes to, or maybe if they have a contingency plan, a backup plan of one of Vitello's guys that might not be going with him to San Fran.
Yeah, what I've heard so far is that they might just hire from within, which honestly I think is the right move. But you got to at least do the due diligence and do a national search, because this is obviously the #1 opening in America right now for a head baseball coach at a program that, before Tony Vitello, I'm sorry, Vol fans, you could disagree with me or not, this was non-existent. This wasn't even a thought in the SEC.
Yes.
But Tony Vitello led them to 6 straight super regional appearances. I mean, that's just unheard of as is.
Yeah.
But to do that after being a dormant program in the bottom of the SEC for a long time, and as I was mentioning to you right before the show, when your best baseball player is named Todd Helton before you came in, that's something. And then I was going down the notable alumni page on Baseball Reference earlier, and I was like, 3/4 of those guys were under Tony Vitello.
Yep.
So, I mean, it just goes to show you that, hey, he can change a program, and I believe whoever's going to come after him, they're going to do a good job.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just it's a program that just bleeds success.
Right.
I think the football team now starting to tap into some of the success definitely helps as well. And I mean, they're doing some renovations over at Lindsey Nelson.
Yep.
They're going to get more capacity.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it's just one of the greatest atmospheres in all of college baseball.
No question about it. And we talked about the SEC as it relates to football, but SEC baseball right now is on just a tremendous run right now. Not just a streak of national champions, but how many different programs have done so. And Tennessee has put their name right there at the top of the echelon with the LSUs of the world, with Mississippi State's back in the day, Vanderbilt's, as you mentioned, that is doing it. Interesting thought experiment I just thought of as we were talking about this. Obviously, he replaces Bob Melvin, who was there for a while. And because this is a history marker, and you are our baseball guy, I'm going to pose an interesting question for you. Which one do you think would be easier for a MLB manager to come to the college ranks, or for what Vitello is doing right now to go from the college ranks to the MLB?
Oh, MLB manager going to the college ranks. Yes. And it goes back to the whole egos thing. I mean, MLB managers already know how to manage egos.
Right.
College baseball head coaches, they might think that they know at the college level, but you don't know until you actually do it. And honestly, at the MLB level, it is so hard to keep all 40 of your or 26 of your guys, and then if you want to expand it to the 40-man roster, all 40 of your guys on the same page, all in line with each other. It is so hard to do that if you've never done that before.
Absolutely.
And I feel like when you have all of that experience at the managerial level in the MLB, and you have all of your coaches, you're soaking up all this information from your hitting coaches, your pitching coaches. I mean, usually guys that manage in the MLB are also former players.
Right.
You have so much knowledge that you can just share and make your college team better. So I don't know what you think, but I feel like that's got to be easier.
I'm with you because you have a shorter season, and when you're in the pros and you come to the college ranks, a lot of times you could just use your resume as a part of your recruiting pitch. You know, hey, every one of the guys that you're recruiting is a guy that wants to go to be the pros, and he's like, hey, you can just say, hey, I've been there. I know what it takes. I can get you there. Now, people will point to, and correctly so, places where it failed, like Bill Belichick right now in Chapel Hill, and some other places where going from the pro ranks to the college ranks hasn't worked out as smoothly. But we will see how it works out for Vitello as he heads over to the Bay Area. We will also see and keep in close contact with our friends over in Knoxville to see who they hire now as one of the now marquee jobs in college baseball comes open at the University of Tennessee. Coming up next here on Southeast Sports Plus, we will visit with our good friend Mariah Ross to talk with the South Carolina Gamecocks and a little Clemson. Stay with us. Welcome back to Southeast Sports Plus here on a Wednesday. And we are glad to be joined by our new friend, and we lovingly call her our aunt now. Aunt Mariah Ross turned to an aunt last week. First off, it's been a week. How are you? And and how were the travels this weekend?
Travels were good. I was out at Clemson this weekend. It's still another couple of weeks before I get to go see my baby nephew. So I am just anxiously waiting to go meet him. But I have a photo album of about 50 pictures at this point, and a couple more that I need to add already. So I am definitely loving Auntie Life, and I just can't wait to officially meet him in person. And it's funny, we were just talking about lineman mothers being built different, and I was just thinking I have a big baby nephew. I mean, born at 8 pounds 9 ounces. I don't think he'll be a lineman. We are a short people in my family, but just a big old baby, big old bundle of joy.
Okay, yeah. Now that we're here, you have to give me some projections, like as far as sport goes, as far as size goes.
Ooh.
What do you think he is? I know he's been on the planet for less than a month, but what are your projections?
8 days old today.
Yeah.
Well, I come from a wrestling background with my family. My dad was a wrestler. My brothers were wrestlers. So I would assume maybe going that route. I know his mom skied and did all kinds of outdoorsy stuff like that. So probably do a little bit of it all. But my brothers are now yogis. So it's a possibility he could just be a little Zen Buddha out here. I don't know.
I can't wait to see how that develops. I really can't. Let's go to South Carolina first before we go to Clemson. I know you were at the Clemson game, but let's talk South Carolina first. Going back to last week, and it just feels like the hopes of this program that were here about a month ago have fallen off a pretty good bit, and really a lot of it is so explainable. I mean, a lot of it is very just kind of cut and dry because this hasn't been a straightforward year. You think of a team like Auburn, for the most part, they've put out the exact same team and they've had disappointing results. South Carolina's been up and down, but you could almost point to different reasons as to why. Where does this team stand now after their latest loss to Oklahoma?
Yeah, well, like you said, the wheels are kind of falling off. They're trying their hardest to get them back on. But like you said, a lot of explainable reasons. I feel like every single week I talk about the O-line, and you're probably tired of it, but it is a real problem.
It makes sense,
and it's something that they really need to address. And beyond that, injuries have really, really plagued this team. They came into the game with 2 starting offensive linemen out, another who they expect to be out for the entirety of the season at this point. And then they had 3 linemen get hurt during the game. They also had Dylan Stewart get hurt during the game, which really hurt the defense. So injuries and just that struggle on the O-line that has continued to plague this team all season have, just continued to be that thorn in their side.
Yeah, were there any positives that they're taken away from last week's game, and if so, what were they from a team that had championship aspirations or at least playoff aspirations at the beginning of the season to where they are now? Has the dust really settled in where they can set some new goals for what they want for the rest of the season?
I think the only positive at this point is that they're still trying to figure it out with that change that they made at offensive line coach, going from Lonnie Teasley to Sean Elliott. Obviously, he only has 2 games now under his belt, and so I still think that they're trying to find an adjustment with that. The linemen in their press conferences this week were just talking about the fact that he's a lot more hands-on, a lot more intense, and just brings a different energy to this group, and it's something that hopefully we will see play out on the field in a different way. But in terms of their performance against Oklahoma, I don't know that there's many positives they can take away from that. It was a little bit different against LSU, right, where the run game was at least successful in part, and we were starting to see that identity in the O-line. Last week was a little bit of a different story. They definitely struggled with the run game. They struggled passing the ball. They struggled protecting Lenora Sellers, and so not too many positives to take away from that one.
Mariah, South Carolina now sits at 3-4. I mean, what is a realistic projection the rest of the way? Because, I mean, you still have Alabama, you still have Ole Miss, you still have Texas A&M. I mean, the schedule doesn't get any easier.
Right. I hate to say it. I hate to be a bummer and a downer here, but these next 3 games are very scary to look at on the schedule. And, if they could pull out at least one win, that would be great. Hopefully get to bowl eligibility with, the last 2 games being Coastal Carolina and Clemson. But playing number 4 Alabama, number 8 Ole Miss, number 3 Texas A&M. It is not looking very pretty. So hopefully they can just try to identify who they are as a team again and just get back to that tough physical group that they were last season. And then maybe we'll see some improvements with the guys that are returning. But I kind of feel at this point we're looking ahead to next season and just at this point just trying to build an identity and playing for pride at this point is a lot of what the team is saying.
Yeah, a year ago, South Carolina was one of the better defensive teams in the SEC, one of the better defensive teams in the country. Obviously, had the SEC Defensive Player of the Year. Right. This season, it feels like the defense has been a little leaky, and it felt like the dam kind of broke in a lot of ways this past week as far as defending the run. And Blaylock had a really nice game for Oklahoma. What did you make of the defensive performance, especially with the success that the Sooners had running the football?
Right. Well, Dylan's just had a mental impact on the entire defensive unit, if anything. He's not a guy who is really a vocal leader, but just his performance every time they're out on the field really stands out, and it's something that the defense really rallies behind. So him getting hurt on the first drive of the game and being able to come back at one point, but then again going down and not returning for the rest of the game, I think that really kind of rattled the entire defense, and just like you said, the dam kind of broke in that one and just allowed them or kept them from getting going just on a mental level, I believe.
What do you think Lenore Sellers is as of right now? Because obviously he was thrown into the fire last year. He was, the SEC, one of the top SEC freshmen. And I don't know if you could really call this a sophomore slump because you've illustrated just how much around him hasn't worked. Where do you think he is as he still continues to grow? He's still a developing player and going to, as you said, the last part of this season in the next year.
Right. I think he's still very optimistic and still hopeful that things can turn around. And the O-lineman, one of the guys who isn't as much of a vocal leader but has said he's stepped up in that regard is Tree Babalade. And he said, Lenore's is that guy. We have to treat him like that guy, and we have to protect him and allow him to be who he is. But like I've been saying, just the fact that he's not very protected. He's sacked the second most times in the country, 25 sacks on the season so far. It's hard to get going when that is happening. But I agree, it's really hard to call it a slump when we still know his potential, but there are just so many moving parts around him and just such a lack of consistency. It's really hard to get going, but it's also hard to deny the talent that he is and that he has.
For Coach Shane Beamer, what do you think his message is for these next few games moving forward? Because I think if you're a coach in these kind of situations, it's really tricky because you're trying to keep your guys focused, and at the same time, that in 3 months from now, that transfer portal will open, and there will be a lot of talk, a lot of sweet talk from people from the outside of the building about being able to change your circumstances or the grass is greener elsewhere. How do you think he handles this last few weeks of the season, as there's a lot of talk from the outside, given the fact that they had such high expectations going into the year?
Well, something that he brought up during the press conference the other day is they have a emblem outside of their locker room that says, starve your distractions, feed your focus. And so he is just trying to shut out all of the outside noise. And like I said, at this point, they're all just playing for pride and just wanting to grow and develop. He talked about freshmen coming into his office for conversations and just saying, what can I do? How can I help this team? How can I play better? And so he is a really likable guy. He's somebody that a lot of these players want to play for and want to do well for. And so I think they're just continuing to try to develop. Obviously, with the way that college football is now and the transfer portal being a very real thing, it is a possibility that a lot of guys can go out, but it's also, like I said, he's a great guy to play for and somebody that a lot of people do want to play for, and they are still very much in that mindset of how do we turn things around, how do we get things better, and just try to win out the season and do what we can to continue to improve, at least, not for this season, for next season.
Absolutely. We got a chance to hear from Shane Beamer on his group staying focused.
When our players walk out of the locker room each and every day, they see a sign on the door of the locker room that's there permanently that says, starve your distractions, feed your focus. And I love that. Starve your distractions, all the things that are cluttering your mind, and feed your focus. And we're 3-4 right now. Nobody's happy, but nobody's coming to save us. What we have on this team is what we are right now.
one of the things that you brought up earlier, and I thought was really telling, is the fact that, people still like him. People still want to play for him. As we spin this thing forward, and another, powerhouse team comes to Williams-Brice Stadium this week in Alabama, what's the message for this team, and what are some of the ways that you think that they will target as far as execution going into this matchup?
Well, he said he had a lot to say about quarterback Ty Simpson and just how well he's been playing. They obviously have to do their best to contain him. He also talked about Alabama's time of possession and how they've really just controlled that throughout the entire season. It's an area where South Carolina has really struggled. We've seen them go on the field and have many 3-and-outs, many even, successful first attempts on a pass. Maybe they'll go 11, 12 yards on, the first carry or first throw of the game, and then they get sacked or they have a run for a loss or, whatever happens. And so they've just talked about trying to be consistent, limit Alabama's time of possession, and get after Simpson because he, is obviously playing the way he is and is one of the leading quarterbacks in the nation right now. So just trying to attack that and continue to fix these issues that have come up every single week of the season so far.
Absolutely. Let's flip the page over to Clemson. You got a chance to go to their game against SMU. We were talking during the break. That was a little a little different experience for you.
A little chippy.
But put a bow on what you saw there from the Tigers and the Mustangs.
Yeah, well, we were talking last week about what the crowd is like now that, some alcohol is being sold at the stadium and how that may change things. I may or may not have heard some threats being made.
Oh!
I heard a lot of, there was a little bit of a riot going on. There were definitely not happy fans with the way that Christopher Vezina was playing, but it's really hard to say that it was his fault. I think overall, when you look at the stats, he did play well, especially for it being his first college start.
Yeah, give the kid a break.
Kate Klubnik was out. I mean, well, there was actually one point where another quarterback came in for one play, and the entire crowd applauded, cheered.
Wow.
And then Vezina came back in. And, I imagine how difficult that was for him in that moment to just come back in when you know that the crowd isn't behind you anymore. And it can be tough to play at a place like Clemson where the crowd and the fans are so intense like that. But overall, I think the defense played well early on in the game, and I don't know if they just gassed out or if SMU figured out what they were doing and figured out a way around it. But it definitely was a slow start for the Tigers, and they were never fully out of it.
Right.
But SMU, obviously, the way that they've been playing, haven't lost an ACC regular season game in their entire time being in the ACC. So it was a tough one for them for sure. But Dabo, I don't know if you've heard the press conferences, but he said, we will win a championship game again. It's not over at Clemson. We'll return to winning. So,
I mean,
we'll see when it happens.
I'm a noted ACC guy on this show.
Yes.
I've been following Clemson a little bit over this year, and I mean, everyone was like, "Oh, we need to get Cade Klubnik out of here. We need to try something else." And then they dog on the backup, and they're like, "Oh, come on, we need the third string guy." But I mean, you look at the wide receiver core right now. I mean, Bryant Wesco's out for the rest of the year. That's not going to help anybody.
Yeah. No, not at all. And like I said, Clemson fans are intense. They're used to winning games. And so when they're not winning, it's a very weird thing. And it was a very weird thing for me to see them not winning as well. But you're right. Bryant Wesco Jr. being out for the rest of the season is not going to be helpful at all. I know when we all saw that play, especially on the sidelines, it was a crazy play. The way he landed was intense, and I mean, you could feel the stadium kind of the air get taken out of them when they saw him hit the ground. But he popped right back up, ran to the sidelines, and we didn't really realize that he was hurt until the post-game press conference where Dabo said he was taken to the hospital after that, and unfortunately going to miss the rest of the season, which is going to be tough for them. But they do have guys like Antonio Williams, they have Tristan Smith, and so hopefully they can continue to get the ball rolling. And they also have running back Adam Randall, who has been playing very well. He was a receiver in the past, so he could be someone that they supplement in some of those roles.
Final thing before we let you go, faith is belief in the unseen. And I think both coaches are really preaching that right now. Hey, we're going to get this together. Coach Shane Beamer is doing it, and Coach Dabo Swinney's doing it.
Yeah.
This time next year, who's in a better position as it relates to right now? This is completely like just a hypothetical.
Yeah.
But who's in a better position?
On the show.
Yeah, we love it. Who's in a better position to get it back on track, however you define it?
Well, I think Dabo Sweeney obviously has a longer track record of getting things back on track, right? I believe if Lenora Sellers is still in college, which I think at this point he probably should stay and continue to develop and learn. Sure. If they still have him, they always have a chance, I think, as just the way the Gamecocks are. Obviously, we see that the O-line needs to be fixed and there are issues there. But if they're able to find that identity and if Sellers is still there, I think they have a very real shot of continuing to improve. They also have a lot of young guys, a lot of talent that can continue to improve during the off season, whereas Clemson is about to lose a handful of people.
Right.
So with Dabo's track record of being the coach that he is, obviously there's always a chance with him, but I also believe there's always a chance when you have someone like Lenora Sellers on your team.
I love it. I agree with all that. I think
it'd help our.
And also, speaking on the Virginia Tech job opening and all the things that we've been hearing about that, Beamer said that being at South Carolina is his dream job. And that hasn't changed. His mission is to stay. He's determined to fix the issues now and right the ship. But he did say it is his dream job, and he does not have any intention of going anywhere else. So that's the latest update on that.
For sure. That has to ease a lot of South Carolina fans because we hear a lot of this time, a lot of coaches just give generic talk. I love where I am right now. We're doing the best that we can, and we're focused on enter next week's opponent. And it feels like for him taking those extra steps and saying those extra sentences should be reassuring for Gamecock fans and also make it not to where the Gamecocks have to pull out their pocketbook to pay him $50 million more dollars.
Exactly.
Mariah, you're the best. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I'll see you guys soon.
Absolutely. Mariah Ross out of Spartanburg, South Carolina. Heard some crazy remarks there.
Yeah,
from the Clemson faithful.
I think going back to the whole Lenora Sellers situation, I think our guy right up the road is going to really benefit from Sellers being there one more year.
Absolutely. Yeah. And our about 50 miles from here.
50,
Landon Duckworth, who's a great quarterback for Jackson High School, looking for back-to-back state championships. He is committed to South Carolina. Looks a lot like Lenora Sellers as far as the way he plays football. We'll see if he'll follow in his footsteps come December and January. Coming up next year on Southeast Sports Plus, we'll turn our attention to LSU, another big one this week. That and more next. Back here on Southeast Sports Plus on a Wednesday, the big game last week in college football featured a game that historically is not a big game. It's usually a one-sided affair, LSU and Vanderbilt, but it had the eyes of the college football world. LSU ends up dropping the football game. What does this mean for this team from a narrative perspective? Well, we have our good friend Chessa Boucher joining us here on Southeast Sports Plus. It might be written all over your face right there.
Are you okay?
Yes. First off, are you okay? And how are your fellow Baton Rougians?
They're not great. They are not great. I don't think there's enough booze in this state to make them feel better. I was there in Nashville. I had to get up at like 6 in the morning and witness that catastrophe. And the thing that sucks is like they only lost by 7 points. Like for what we did and what they lost their starting left tackle. And so you lose Tyree Adams, and then you're like, okay, maybe they can piece it together. And then your defense they're struggling to contain Diego Pavia, and he ran all over them, and he was the leading rusher in that ball game. And then your defense goes and they force 2 punts, and you're like, okay, maybe this is something. And then off of those 2 drives, you know how much yardage that the offense gained?
How much?
Negative 10 yards.
Wow.
Oh, no.
Wow.
Negative 10 yards. It was a 3-and-out, negative 10 yards. Like, that's all that you can do. And you have, again, a second-year starter, Garrett Nussmeier, who everybody talked about he was going to be in the Heisman race. And then you have so many weapons, and you can't do anything with it. And I don't blame Garrett. I blame the offensive line. I blame the play calling. And I blame Brian Kelly, because it's week 7 and you don't have your team ready to play.
Yeah.
And at this point, you can't say, well, it was bad coaching, or we didn't prepare properly, or we weren't focused. Like, at some point you have to say, like, bruh, maybe I'm just not doing a great job and it's on me. We've never heard that from Brian Kelly. And I was a fan of Brian Kelly when he got here. I was like, he's never had a losing season in over 30-something years.
Right.
Maybe he had the talent at Notre Dame because, you know, you have the academic side. So he's going to come here and he's going to win championships. And then year 1, he kind of outkicks his coverage and has a great year. And then since then, we've just been waiting. We have been waiting and waiting some more. And the thing that I can say about Brian Kelly, when they go on the road and it's a top 15 matchup or a top 20 matchup, you're not going to win it. And that's what we've seen. And so this fan base is like, 50 million, that doesn't matter. Let's get them out of this. Like, who do you bring in? Where does that money come from? And then I told y'all this, I think it was like week 2 or maybe even for the Clemson game, week 1. Brian Kelly said, we paid $18 million for this roster.
Yep.
And you can't beat Ole Miss on the road, and you can't beat Vanderbilt.
Bruh is right. Chessa, I think we need to have a serious conversation about Brian Kelly here. Yeah. Is he James Franklin 2.0?
I hate to say this out loud, but I would agree. I would agree. Wow. I think he is. And again, I was like I was high on that horse with him. I was like, his pedigree, what he's been able to do. He hasn't been able to win the big games. That's because he didn't have the roster. But you have this roster, and you can't even score in the red zone. You have to settle for field goals against a Vanderbilt defense. And now you're going to face an A&M team who's number 5 in the country in sacks. They have 25 sacks on the season, and you have an offensive line that is boo-boo. That's the nicest way I know how to even describe them. And you think something's going to change in Tiger Stadium because of the fans and the environment? Like, no.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I will say this, and maybe I'll be glass half full guy as of right now. There's 2 losses in conference, and there's one to Vanderbilt, obviously a top 10 team, another one to Ole Miss, top 15 team. Still left on the schedule for LSU with 2 losses is number 3 Texas A&M, number 4 Alabama, Arkansas, and Oklahoma to end the season. Now, if it's a tall order, I know it's a tall order, but if you were to stay as positive as BK is here in this picture, and LSU wins out, that is still a team, in my opinion, that at least has the right to put their name in the hat for a college football playoff berth. Are there any talks of that, maybe the hope and positivity of what is possible to come? Or is it just, hey, we're lucky to be here where we are right now, and if things keep going the same way, we will not have just 2 losses. We'll have, way more.
Yeah, in post game after the game, we asked about kind of what does the future look like? Are y'all still talking about college football playoffs? And they're like, yeah, absolutely. Of course we are. Of course, that's what they're going to say. They know they have their backs against the wall. What makes it even better is last year, Brian Kelly went out after a post game interview and said, we're keeping receipts and we'll see y'all at the national championship next year.
Wow.
My God.
Still doubling down.
On what's left on that schedule, you're going to at Alabama and at Oklahoma. What we've seen from Brian Kelly, he doesn't win the big games on the road. So I don't think this is going to happen. I think maybe if God feels to be nice for Tiger fans, like y'all have been through enough, so I'm going to let y'all win this one against A&M. They're not winning at Tuscaloosa. They haven't done that since 2019, the national championship with that Ogeron. I don't think they go and win in Norman. I've never been in Norman, but again, it'll be a top, well, LSU won't be ranked at that time, but still, you're facing a top 15, top 17 team in the country.
Good defense.
You're not winning either.
Yeah,
with that phenomenal defense. And then Mateer, he's going to be healthy by then, and so it's like,
and they might be playing for a college football playoff berth as well.
That's right. At that point of the season, they definitely might. You pointed to something very interesting with the offense not being able to punch it inside the red zone. We got a chance to hear from BK about that.
We've seen that happen so many times in this game. Unfortunately, it was a timely error in that situation, that caused us. Cost us, 4 points in that situation, right? I think in each one of them was a little bit different. I think if we had to impact, another third down situation where it was all-out blitz, that, we could have certainly tapped down the routes and gotten the ball out a little bit quicker. But there's no major issues as much as at that time, at that crucial time with 49 plays, they're magnified if there's any errors at all. At all. And that's what this game came down to. And I mentioned it many times. It's like playing a triple option team. You don't get many possessions. We had 5 possessions going into the fourth quarter. And so when you have limited possessions, those errors are magnified by 10.
So I was going to ask, your head shake kind of says it. I was going to ask if you agree with Coach where it seems like the tonality of his voice and just the way that he's diagnosing it, it makes it seem like, hey, if we're presented this same situation in a future game, a la Texas A&M, Alabama, Oklahoma, we will or can be able to execute? Or do you think that this is more a shadow of a much larger issue for this football team?
Well, since you're 7 games in, and the past 2 games, your 2 losses, you were not able to punch it in. You had to settle for field goal. So I would blatantly disagree with that because you haven't been able to.
Yep.
If you were able to, I mean, at the goal line stand against Vandy, you had a direct snap and it gets called back. Then you have to call timeout because you have 10 players on the field. You don't even have it lined up correctly. And then Garrett Nussmeier is mad because they can't get it together. And then he's crying on the sideline, and you're telling me that the red zone offense is working, or it's going to be able to work now. No. And I will tell you this. Everybody likes to throw around the whole, he's not a great fit, Brian Kelly's not a great fit. I think the real thing to look for is anybody who has ever moved to Baton Rouge to gain weight. Brian Kelly lost weight. And you don't do that with the red beans and rice. You don't do that with a gumbo. You don't, you eat your way through this city, and he has not done that. So I don't think he's accepted what it is in South Louisiana, and maybe he's not the right fit because he lost weight when you got here. That makes no sense to me.
No, it should. You should not ever lose weight when you go to LA. I mean, and literally, your first 3 months there, it should be at least a net gain of about 8 to 9 pounds. About 3 pounds per month on average. And that's just a regular staple diet, much less anything bigger than that. Going into this,
he's not eating the po' boys. He's not eating any of that.
No, none. And honestly, that's probably a sign of a bigger issue that he, like you said, he might not be the right fit, literally and figuratively. For this defense going into this season, it was considered, heralded as probably one of the best defenses in the country. They kind of played like it for the most part of the season. I know there's been some injuries. Whit Weeks was banged up. His younger brother had a big play there on Diego Pavia. What do you make of the way this defense is playing going into this game against Texas A&M? Because I'm not saying that Pavia and Marcel Reed are the same guy, but they're both elusive kind of players that are playing at a high clip right now.
Yeah, I was impressed with the defense, especially what they did against South Carolina and their mobile quarterback in Sellers. So to me, I was like, okay, you contained a guy who's super mobile. He's not super accurate with his arm. I think with Diego Pavia and all the RPOs and all of the eye candy, that the defense got away from what they've been able to do. But like you said, when you have Weeks out because of a bone bruise, you don't have Bernard Gooden. He's out with a shoulder injury. You have some of your top guys out, and then you're asking younger guys to fill in the spots. So I think you're asking a defense that doesn't have that veteran experience, those leaders. I mean, Whit Weeks is that captain of that defense and is telling everybody where to go. So when you don't have him, it's a huge hole to fill, and I think that's what we saw, especially with Diego Pavia. Whit Weeks is more than likely not going to be back for this A&M game. Marcel Reed absolutely embarrassed LSU last year. They had basically that game was LSU's, and then all of a sudden they make a quarterback change, and they're like, "What do you mean a mobile quarterback? What do we do?" And so to me, it's a recipe for a disaster, especially with what he was able to do last year and missing your main captain, missing Gooden, missing those pieces on defense. To me, I just don't feel like this is the same defense that they had in weeks past because of the injuries. I know that there's injuries all over the field for every team, but on a defense, when you lose your it guy, kind of the heartbeat of that team, it's hard to replace. So to me, I just think this is A&M's game to win. They've never won in Tiger Stadium since they joined the SEC, wow. And I really do not want them to win Saturday night because I have a lot of A&M friends, and it's so annoying when they're doing well because they want to tell you all about it. I'm like, welcome. I'm glad y'all are finally here to the club.
I love it, Chessa. I'm not an odds maker, but I love reading the Vegas lines, and typically for a home field advantage, I guess in the NFL, it's usually around 2.5 to 3. Night game at Death Valley, I would think is about similar. 6:30 kickoff in Death Valley. This line sits at Texas A&M minus 2.5, which means the odds makers are at least telling you that on a neutral field, these teams are about equal. Are you seeing that go into it? Are you seeing maybe playing something into what the Vegas line is here, or is this just pure market manipulation?
I think because of the way that A&M has been able to win in different ways, they've been able to go blow for blow. They've been able to win it defensively. They've been able to do the shootout because they can win in multiple ways. I think that they definitely have the upper hand than LSU. LSU doesn't want to get in a shootout because they don't have an offense to back them up.
Yeah.
And what we saw with Lane Kiffin, the defense was struggling, sucking wind because they were on the field for as long and they get tired and exhausted. So to me, I just feel like A&M has that upper hand. I think Vegas kind of knows what they're doing and wants to keep it interesting. But I would be surprised if A&M doesn't win by 2 scores at least.
Wow. That is strong. That is strong. But honestly, given the trend, I can't really disagree with that as of right now. No, I know. Chessie, you are. I know, and I know it hurts you. I know it hurts you more than anybody.
Gotta hurt
to say that.
At least you won a baseball championship in
that's true.
In June. There is that.
Yep.
There is that baseball natty championship. We had women's basketball the year before that, I think. So I mean, there's been a lot of success there. It looks like BK may or may not be a part of it moving forward. We will see. Chessa, thank you so much for your time here on Southeast Sports Plus today.
Thanks for having me, y'all.
Absolutely. Chessa Boucher joining us from Baton Rouge. And this is literally what I love about Chessa. There's no homer talk. She'll spit it straight honestly. And that's my favorite part.
You just have to sometimes. I mean,
it's got to be honest.
The expectations LSU had at the beginning of the season, my preseason SEC champion.
Same. Oh, actually, no, it wasn't the same. But I did have them in the championship bracket.
It's just unfortunate.
In the final 12 teams. Big game here this week against Texas A&M. We'll see how that goes. Coming up next here on Southeast Sports Plus, we wrap up Hour 1. Wrapping up hour one here at Southeast Sports Plus. Of course, we have our overreactions. We do this every week.
Every week.
Sees a little football, you make an overreaction. Who goes first?
I'll go first here.
All right.
Vanderbilt is going to the college football playoff.
Hey,
This is pretty
like
much
it.
cemented in my mind. I don't care if it's only a 33% chance according to ESPN FPI. Vanderbilt's in.
Okay.
Because Diego Pavia is him, as they say nowadays. James Franklin, why don't you go ahead and relearn the SEC? I made that bet with you on this show about a week ago that I would wear a Pitt Panthers shirt on the show if he were to go anywhere besides the SEC.
Okay.
And I mean, according to our good friend Courtney Mims yesterday, it seems like a good possibility that, one of these teams here
That's true.
They could
scoop him up.
Could scoop him up. Lane Kiffin, he ain't going nowhere.
He's staying.
Nah, you watched that documentary.
Yeah,
He ain't going nowhere.
He is. Landry ruined it for everybody. His young daughter.
Yeah, go ahead and blame Landry.
That Landry and that.
That's also
PowerPoint.
a little, Gainesville's a little further away to Baton Rouge.
Yeah,
than,
that's true. Yeah.
Than Oxford is.
Yeah, that would make it really hard for the relationship. I'll quickly hit mine. Miami would finish 8th in the SEC at best.
Miami hate.
At best.
At best.
And I'm telling you that, like, literally straight up finish 8th in the SEC, and that is a best case scenario for the Miami Hurricanes. Billy Napier will be the first coach rehired. We see a lot of guys that make the tread from fired to rehired. I think he's the first one rehired. Maybe our boy Holden Cruzmark. Maybe that move to Oklahoma State. We'll see. Also, a staple. Welcome to the Heisman House,
Diego Pavia.
Diego Pavia. Every week, we got somebody new in the Heisman House. This week is Diego Pavia for obvious reasons after that big win on Saturday. Join us next year on Southeast Sports Plus. We will kick off hour number 2. Stay with us.
Outbound transmission?
Affirmative.
Crew ready?
Check.
Signal lock?
Check.
Downstream stations online?
Linked and locked.
Let's light this candle.
Flame on.
In 3, 2, roll show open.
In our neck of the woods, sports is tradition. Sports is passion. Sports is family. Sports is fun. Welcome to our house. This is Southeast Sports Plus Live with Simone and Gerhard Mathangani.
With the explosion of high-octane, up-tempo offenses, we've seen a reoccurring thing happen, and that is players faking injuries. Well, for the first time ever, the SEC has fined a school for doing so. Texas A&M hit with a $50,000 fine after the Aggies instructed a player to fake an injury in the fourth quarter of the Texas A&M game against Arkansas. Welcome to Southeast Sports Plus, hour number 2 here. Gerhard Mathangani, Patrick Walsh joining you. And what I find really interesting about this, Patrick, is the fact that we have seen for a long time offensive coaches bellyache about defensive players faking injuries and being instructed to do so from the sideline. This is the first time it went all the way to the National Director of Officials. They reviewed it, they highlighted it, they saw what happened on the sidelines. A coach or a support staff member or assistant coach instructing a player to go down. He goes down, fakes the injury, and next thing you know, $50,000 coming out of the Aggie wallets.
Yeah, I believe this goes back to 2022 when the SEC unanimously voted in favor of this new rule, which, I mean, it's good for the sport because we've seen it so often with these high-tempo offenses. You just have guys that just, fall down while offenses are driving to get an injury timeout. And, sometimes the drives stall out. I'm going to throw my Syracuse Orange on the spot. We saw that opening weekend in the Aflac kickoff game where a couple of guys just, they mysteriously went down after, Tennessee was driving and there was no injury there. I mean, they were just falling to the ground. And I believe this one was in the fourth quarter in the game against Arkansas.
That's right.
And, I mean, they didn't even try to hide it.
No.
Because the report says it came from the sidelines that the Texas A&M coaching staff were literally pointing at the ground to get down on the ground so that way they could get the timeout.
So they can fake the injury there. It happened with about the 12-minute, 36-second mark of the fourth quarter. At that point, Texas A&M was leading the game 38-27. Steve Shaw, who if you're around the SEC, you know that name from the officials. He's now the national coordinator of football officials. He's the one that reviewed this particular situation to see if a fine would come down. And deep back, Tyreek Chappell was indeed instructed to go down. He does go down, and the reason why they can say with authority that it wasn't a real injury, because we've seen non-contact injuries, but the reason why they say that this was a fake injury is because he had no contact on the play before or no contact on that play as well. So it was probably the poorest way to do it if you're going to fake an injury. There's 11 guys that are on the field. I would say on any given play, 9 of them make contact with another guy.
Yeah.
So if you're going to fake an injury, at least do it with some guy who was touched in the play before, and he wasn't.
If I'm not mistaken either, Gerhard, not only was he not touched before or after, he returned on the next defensive possession.
Right.
Like, what are we doing here? We're not even trying to hide it anymore. I'll get you guys in line. Like, what are we doing?
This is insane. It really is insane. And I think that what has happened is that it has worked out in so many different ways to where you just get the player that is closest to the official.
Yeah.
That way, if he goes down, the official sees him first and is able to blow the whistle. If it's the guy that's in the middle of the pack and the official doesn't see him, maybe that's the rationale for getting a guy that's that so far open. But I am glad they're cracking down on this because they have made these rules to where, hey, if the offense substitutes, you get a substitute. So I mean, like if there is a change that defense gets to match. Now, if the offense is just going quickly, defense, that's your job to be able to stop them. Now, if there's a real injury, then you tend to the real injury, but that's not a real one. And I'm glad to see some punishments finally going down, not just a bunch of kind of hot air.
Yeah, and I mean, as you mentioned, there's no place for this in football. I mean, just get your guys in shape better.
Yeah.
Just do some more sprints. I mean, if you're that gassed, maybe, or you look at the other side, tell your offense to, maybe chew up the clock a little bit. I mean, there's pros and cons to being able to light up the scoreboard. And we saw this with Miami's offense last year under Cam Ward. They were so good at offense,
right,
that they would just go on 2-3 minute drives, and the defense, I think it was a Georgia Tech game last year where Georgia Tech would slow and methodically drive their way down the field, 7-8 minute drives at a time. And Miami would just answer with a 3-minute drive because Cam Ward would hit Xavier Restrepo or someone else for like a 70-yard touchdown.
Right.
And then that's almost as bad as throwing an interception, because then your guys are just coming right back on the field.
Yeah. And I will say that I don't think this lives in a vacuum. I think that all 16 teams in the SEC and all 130-plus teams in and around college football have had some form of this. Whether it's practiced or not, they had some form of this in their repertoire, so to speak, to be able to stop the clock. But this is one thing that Commissioner Sankey has said out of the SEC. He has said he's trying to stop this at all ranks as it relates to the SEC. And I'll read his thing verbatim. Is we're trying to stop any and all activity related to faking injuries to create timeouts. And he called the practice disrespectful to the game of football, which I agree with that. It's also disrespectful to players who might get injured in real life, and where you don't know the forest from trees. You don't know whether a guy is really fake or really hurt or fake hurt. As far as the rules, this was established back in 2022. I'm actually surprised it's taken this long to get here to where we're seeing our first fine here in 2025.
Yeah, first offense, $50,000 fine. You get a public reprimand, and then the second, that fine gets up to $200,000, and then further, you result in a suspension. Now, I mean, if you get caught faking an injury 3 times, I mean, you should just. I mean, the suspension's not even enough. At that point, you should lose your job because of that.
And it's, to me, it's just not the right coaching. And I think that to me, that the penalty structure, the penalty layer is perfect.
Yes.
A nice fine, a public reprimand, and hopefully that quells all talk of it. So Mike Elko can literally have one meeting that lasts 15 seconds and says, guys, no more of that. We're not doing that anymore. Only go down if you're really hurt. If you are not hurt, you stay in the game, and it's our job as a defense to try to stop these guys from being able to move the football. And or, hey, if you strip a ball out and it's an incomplete pass, the clock stops. So, I mean, there's ways to make the clock stop without having to fake an injury.
Yeah, exactly. And, I mean, I went ahead and pulled up here the drive chart from the game. Coming into the third quarter, out of halftime, A&M, 3 plays, 75 yards, a minute 26. And then Arkansas punts. And then a 4-minute drive for A&M results in a field goal.
Right.
And then a 3-minute drive results in a touchdown. Then A&M comes back with a touchdown of their own, with 4:03. But I think the part that makes even less sense is there was still, 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter?
Yeah.
I mean, you're barely into the fourth quarter. You just got a stoppage of like 3.5 minutes.
Yep.
And Arkansas on that drive, 10 plays, 75 yards, 3:55 off the clock. I mean,
and you can tell that's not even a gassed situation.
No.
That is just, hey, Bobby Petrino and Taylor Green, they're killing it right now in this drive, and let's slow down the momentum or get some new bodies in here.
Let's not get embarrassed by Arkansas. Pretty much is what they're trying to go.
Yes, and they almost did. I mean, Arkansas kept it close, even after that fake timeout, or even after that fake injury that led to the timeout there. But no, you're right, and we're seeing this for the first time in the SEC. However, there is some precedent for this, because out of the ACC just last month, ACC issuing a $25,000 fine and a public reprimand. And that was to Syracuse for faking an injury in that game, as you said, in the win over Clemson. Actually, you were talking about the season opener, correct?
Opener.
Against Tennessee?
That's right. I remember watching.
Or were you talking about this Clemson game? Or was there situations in both?
No, this is interesting, because the most notable one, in my opinion, was the Tennessee one. I thought that they were going to get one
That's what
right
I was
after.
thinking of as well.
But now that I'm remembering watching that Syracuse-Clemson game, I was just sitting on my couch just enjoying it.
Right.
I think it was every time Cade
Klubnik
and the offense were driving down the field, they would drop down.
So it's happened. It's basically. So you're saying it's happened to Syracuse, where Tennessee guys faked it, and then it happened where Syracuse.
No. Sorry. It was Syracuse both times.
Oh, it was Syracuse on the offense both times.
Yes.
Okay.
So that's why I'm shocked that it took that long.
Right. Right. Out of the ACC there. So that's a $25,000 fine for Syracuse, a $50,000 fine for the SEC. And we're seeing this. The SEC, the way the ACC and the SEC distribute fines has been completely different this year. When you talk about the field storming, I think the SEC's penalty was 10 times more than the ACC's penalty.
I believe it's $500,000.
Yeah, it was $500,000.
That's ridiculous.
And speaking of, I don't know if you saw this, but Vanderbilt, in their win over LSU, they got a chance. They actually were
did
not
it the
fined.
right way.
They did. They were saying, hey, because the SEC is saying, we are not telling you to not storm the field. We are just telling you the way that we want you to do it.
Yeah, wait until everyone's off the field so that way no one gets hurt. Once LSU leaves the field, then you can do whatever you want. That's why. I mean, we were talking about this. I think Simone was like, what in the world are you talking about with Clemson? They storm the field after every game.
Yeah.
Storm the field
right.
Loosely. They all just congregate on the field. I think it's like they call it a gathering at the paw or something like that. And they don't get fined because they wait until everyone's off the field, and then you can just do whatever you want.
Right.
But, I mean, we were talking about A&M. They're hot right now.
They are.
And it's honestly, it's still pretty shocking that A&M's 7-0.
7-0 right now, and just like Chessa said it in our last segment, Chessa Boucher, she said it perfectly. They've been able to win in all kinds of ways.
Yes.
They've been able to blow teams out. They've been able to stay in close games, both on the road at Notre Dame and at home in their previous two matchups. Played what people would consider a bad team. Arkansas, who played up to their competition, they're able to put them away. They're also able to put good teams away as well. Right. So this team, once again, still undefeated on the year, now 7-0. I got to ask you, I had my doubts early. I can't even lie. I had my doubts earlier.
I can't lie either. I mean, I said on the show, they're gonna find a way to go 8-4.
You said 8-4 as well. So, given where they are now, in a really tricky game, because I fed this to Chessa Boucher on a platter. I said. Yeah. This is the kind of game that is so dangerous for every team. It's going to Death Valley at night. I think there's a possibility LSU can get it done. There's not a lot of evidence pointing towards the fact that they've been able to do it previously.
No.
I just put nothing past the night game there in Death Valley.
No, and I mean both of the road games that Texas A&M has played this year have been close games. Notre Dame, a 41-40 win this past week, a 45-42 win over Arkansas.
Yeah.
Now, I just don't, as Chessa mentioned, and I think she brings up a great point, I don't think LSU has the offense to go tit for tat with them, basically.
Yeah.
I just do not see Garrett Nussmeier. I mean, right now their best weapon is Trey Green, a former college basketball star.
Right.
And Marcel Reed, as she mentioned, just carved up LSU last year. It hurts because LSU is so close to being good.
Right.
But,
yeah,
I mean, Brian Kelly might be James Franklin 2.0. Just can't win the big one.
And I think that you're hitting it on the head because of the fact that, hey, LSU going into the season, that was his words.
Yeah.
That was his words. His most talented team he's had. And it felt like, hey, they were taking receipts. They
had to win
the
this
college
year. They have to win this year.
And now, they have to because he set up all the expectations going into the year. Speaking of expectations, everybody was talking about Mike Elko at the beginning of the season and this football team. And there were some guys that were sour on him. And he said, no, believe in our start. Believe in us. We could be national champions. And now he talked about a 7-0 start.
I think you've seen us make some plays in the fourth quarter that have certainly made the difference. If you look at our games, I think there's been, 3 games now that have come down to one score in the fourth quarter. And for us to be 3-0 in those games, I think the feelings in and around this room and the questions about my job security would be a lot different if I was on this podium at 4-3 than me standing here at 7-0. And so the way we finish games, the way we've made plays down the stretch, that matters. But again, we talk consistently about how success is rented, and we've got to make sure that we continue to do it and continue to do it at a really high level.
Texas A&M went on the road last week to Fayetteville. Got to win. They're on the road this week in Baton Rouge. We'll see what happens. And then they're on the road next week at Missouri. This is not necessarily, a murderer's row of games, but a kind of tricky spot for a team that's top 5 and will get everybody's best.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if you told me that they lose both of these games, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if they won both of these games because, I mean, Mike Elko is so confident in this team.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, you're still holding your breath. I I don't care what he says about how this team is different. You have to still hold your breath, just because I know from being a Cowboys fan, you always hold your breath as the season goes on, because it's like, all right, when's it going to happen?
Yeah.
All right, when's it going to happen now?
Yep.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah. And for this team, as of right now, it still hasn't happened. But as you said, this team has a track record of it happening. I find the line very interesting. I'm going to keep saying this throughout the course of the week, as long as it stays where it is. It is still at 2.5. Texas A&M is a 2.5-point favorite, which means they're telling you if this game were played in Jerry World, they'd basically be a pick'em. It'd be a neutral site game. It'd be a pick'em. And if you are like Chessa thinks that Texas A&M is head and shoulders above LSU, then it's a different spot here. So it's a really interesting matchup there, and we'll see how it all shakes out on Saturday. Coming up next here on Southeast Sports Plus, we'll talk a little Arkansas Razorback football as they welcome in the Auburn Tigers. Back here on Southeast Sports Plus, hour number 2 on a Wednesday continues, and we head over up to Hog Country and join our good buddy Trey Dare once again.
The guest of the week is more like it, gentlemen.
Exactly, yes, 1,000%. You know, last week we saw you were embracing all things fall. You know, apple cider and the pumpkin patch. How was the weekend overall since the last time we saw you?
We got that. I'm in the house here.
Oh, nice.
Here we go.
Okay. Some work, yeah.
Hey, you know what? We have delayed this conversation for almost a month now. We've been talking about these white cabinets for a while. I gotta know. Are they all done now? Is everything all set? I'm not an interior designer, so you gotta kind of walk me through it.
Yeah, there's no way our contractor's gonna be watching this video, but they gotta come back. They're a little crooked. Shout out to Southeastern Sports Plus here, but all due respect, I can trash my guy. I paid this guy a lot of money. You know, he's got a, I could not have done this without my wife.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Gotta get those straightened out.
I love it. I love it. Cricket cabinets aside, we were talking baseball just before we hopped on. We'll jump to that in a moment. I wanted to talk a little bit about Arkansas because this is a team that played ferociously 2 weeks ago, and it's a team that played ferociously once again. And once again, they're in a nail-biter game with one of the top teams in the SEC. This time it's Texas A&M, a 3-point game. Now, I know there's no such thing as moral victories, but how much did this Arkansas Razorback team and Coach Bobby Petrino take away from their performance against the Aggies?
It's weird. It feels like the fan base has kind of shifted. Like what they became apathetic and frustrated with Sam Pittman was like the close loss after close loss after close loss. You know, Arkansas almost over and over and over again. Well, what my big takeaway, and I think Bobby's handled himself great, but what's changed? Okay, so you know, Memphis may go to the college football playoff. I think we all can agree that's probably a top 35 team in the country, top 40 team in the country.
Right.
Arkansas shouldn't be losing to them, but still, it's not a bad team. Ole Miss, top 15 in the country. They win this weekend. I think they're probably going to find a way to get into the college football playoff because there may not be another loss on that schedule. So they lost those 2 games by a combined 7 points. Petrino's lost 2 games by 6 points, one of them at home. Both those games that Pittman lost were on the road. So what's really changed? However, if you really use the eye test, it does feel a little bit different.
Yeah.
They got they just have issues defensively. Their injuries they're not devastating injuries. Like these guys are going to be back. Some of them are just playing through some things. But look at those numbers.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous. That is as bad can be. There is just no hiding how bad they've been defensively. I did some research here this week. If their last 5 games were season averages, you didn't factor in the Alabama A&M and Arkansas State game, just their last 5 averages, they'd be dead last in the country defensively, points allowed, dead last in yards. The 2 most important factors statistically in college football whenever you're talking about defense.
Goodness.
But all long way of me saying there's more support. I'll tell you what, the fan base is behind Bobby. The atmosphere Saturday with the weather and the delay to the game, not a great day, all that, you know, kind of a little bit of a flat start. They were right there for him. So the fan base believed in Bobby Petrino. But if I'm being objective and not subjective, it doesn't feel like much has changed.
Yeah.
You know, they're losing close games. They're not finishing. The door's open there at the end, and they just can't kick the damn thing down. That's what they got. They can't get the stop they need. Or if they get the stop, they can't get the points they need. So, you know, same thing against A&M. Settling for field goals too much. They missed a crucial 4th down play. And then they had Reuben Owens there, dead to rights. I mean, hit him Justice Boone blew this play up in the backfield. But still, second chance, he breaks through, and that kind of, you know, altered the game. So they're close, but they were close before.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Well, I was thinking, I was going to ask about the Auburn game. What were you asking about this Texas A&M game?
No, I was going to ask about Petrino.
Oh, well, yeah. Go ahead, because I think that's going to be more insightful as it leads to this week's game.
Is there real possibility that he could just have the interim tag taken off? Like, I know you're talking about potentially these coaches losing their fastball. I mean, it still sounds like he's got it.
I have a hard time believing that a guy at 64 years old, that the last time he was a head coach, he went 5-6 at Missouri State, is going to be a good coach in the SEC. But again, I'm being objective. There's a lot of subjectivity into what it takes to be a coach in college football. And he seems to be very much in control, very comfortable. I'm sure he's going to say, like, look, hey, we got one of the best offenses in the country. But you also have Taylor Green. A lot of their NIL money has also been spent on the offensive side of the ball. And he's going to be like, hey, I didn't hire these defensive coaches. I fired them. And we did get a little teeny tiny bit better. You know, these fired coaches, stuff like that. We got a little teensy tiny bit better. Right? Don't look at me. Let me hire a defensive coordinator. Now, again, I think objectivity is the word of the day here so far. You look at Petrino's history, he has not hired good assistants. I mean, his coaching tree is pretty much non-existent, which isn't a knock on him. That's
sure.
Not everybody could be Nick Saban.
Yeah.
And, you know, be the school for lost souls there with Lane Kiffin and Steve Sarkisian and Butch Jones, and for all these guys to kind of rehabilitate their career whenever they get there. You know, not everybody. Kirby Smart, who was a Saban disciple, and Jeremy Pruitt, who got great jobs, and on and on and on and on. Kurt Cignetti was under Saban at one point. Not everybody can be like that. But yeah, I think there's a chance if they get hot, Petrino could get the job by the end of the year. Absolutely. I used to think he had to win 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's 2. However, everybody talks himself into a corner, right? Hunter Yurachek said at the press conference, part of the reason why we're firing Sam Pittman is not the 43-point loss to Notre Dame. This is a direct quote. Look it up. It's on the internet. You know it's true. We lost too many close games.
Yeah.
So if Bobby just wins 1 or 2 games, but they're all close,
What's
if
changed?
it's not me, somebody else is going to ask Hunter. You said the close games were a problem,
right?
So why are you hiring the guy that won 1 or 2 games, but they were just close? But man, the fan base, they are drunk on Bobby Petrino. They're drinking the Kool-Aid. They're liking what they see. They remember the way things were.
That's exactly right.
And Bobby is a gateway to the past. But that doesn't always work out the way it's supposed to be. He's doing a good job. He's comfortable in the moment. And I know he's not supposed to act any other way. He's acting like he's got the job.
Right.
But how else should he act?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And I think it's a key thing going into it where if he just pretends that he has it, then maybe he could just thinks he can manifest it into existence. And maybe so. And maybe so. As I look at this Auburn game coming up for Arkansas.
He's so confident.
Oh, 1,000%.
He's so confident in what he's doing right now.
No question. No question. As I look at this Auburn game coming up, it reminds me a lot of the Spider-Man meme. You know the Spider-Man meme where it's Spider-Man and Spider-Man, they're pointing at each other, but they're the exact same. This reminds me of these two football teams. They're going about it in different ways, but they're the exact same football team pointing at each other. They're both 0-4 in the league. They're both losing close games. Now, Auburn's offense is inept. Arkansas's offense is lights out. Auburn's defense is elite. Arkansas's defense, as you mentioned, might be one of the worst if you were to take an average of their
movable
5
force
games.
meets movable object.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can't hide the numbers. Arkansas's defense is one of the worst in the country.
Yes, exactly. And comparative to Auburn's defense, these two teams feel like the same team going in different, in opposite directions. How huge is this game for Arkansas? Because I know it's huge for Auburn. How huge is it for Arkansas for not only Bobby Petrino, just for the team to stop the bleeding in the SEC and get a win over a historically good program?
Is this a college football show, or are you guys going to keep on doing this after the football season?
Oh, it's going on. It's year-round.
It's all sports.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's cue up the tape here if this happens.
Okay.
I don't think there is a path to Bobby Petrino getting this job if they lose this week. I just talked about how in love with the fan base is with him. We have a senior analyst on our team.
I'll write that down, Trey.
He's feeling a lot of support for Bobby Petrino. I think that flips if they can't win this week.
Yeah.
I do. And then you start to think like, well, where are they going to win another game if they can? So basically a must win.
Yep.
And let's be honest, we talk about this almost every week. I think the quit factor, if they lose this week, the buy-in from the players would be like, what are we doing here?
Mm-hmm.
I'm done. And it's, you want in life, we all want good employees. We want people that work hard, but come on, when you don't believe in what you're doing, that's whenever the tune-out thing happens. And quite frankly, that's what happened for Arkansas against Notre Dame. So I could see them going on a little run here. Like, Arkansas has not been more than a 7.5-point dog all season long.
Right.
I mean, they backdoored the hell out of it, but they covered against Texas A&M.
Yeah, they did.
They still covered the spread there. This week, I think they're a 1.5-point favorite.
Yeah, last I saw was 1.5. I'll see if it's moved today.
I think they're 1.5. But they beat Auburn. They're probably going to be favored to beat Mississippi State.
Yep.
Right now, the way that LSU and Texas are playing, you would think that they could get one of those teams.
Mm-hmm.
Missouri, Missouri's better than you, but that doesn't mean you can't beat them at home.
Yeah.
So this is a big time bridge game. They got to win this one, and then I think you get to 5 wins. And if Petrino gets to get to 6 wins, he's got to go 5-1 or 4-1 here in these last 5 games.
Right.
I don't. That seems like if he goes 4-1, he's got the job. I think if 3-2,
we'll see.
He's gonna have a hell of a case. But sometimes these things are decided before we know about them.
Right. Right.
Nick Saban, when he took the job at Alabama, clearly he tried to college media the thing of being in a place like Fayetteville, Arkansas,
right.
And it's you guys need me a lot more than I need you.
Yes.
So I'm not going to be the head coach at Alabama.
Right.
When he knew he was going to be the head coach at Alabama,
yeah.
and Alabama knew he was. he was going to be the head coach at Alabama, that kind of thing. I think when Jeff Long hired Brett Bielema, I think that there were some discussions in the middle of the year, and it was just, hey, let me get to the end of the year, and I'm your guy kind of thing. So, maybe there is an element of that to the Petrino thing, but he's got to win the game.
Yeah. Look, all I'm going to say, Trey, is I look at these last 3 games, LSU, Texas, Missouri. Arkansas can do some serious damage to the amount of SEC teams that make the college football playoff if they win just one of those games.
Man, and Arkansas, they are close, but how close is close to being?
Yeah, close but no cigar.
5-2, 6-1, but you'd have to be nearly perfect in fairness for that. It's not just like these they're not who puked all over themselves. They're not like the Giants here.
33 in the fourth quarter is bad.
Insane. That
is awful.
Unreal. I mean, they're not losing games like that, but they are kind of doing it. But yeah, hey, that's cool, right? Like let's have these games mean something down the stretch. Like if maybe you're playing, you get there and you're 4-6 with 2 games to go. It's like, all right, hey, let's get 6-6. Let's get to a bowl game. Even if you don't get there, at least show that there's something to play for. Maybe you can knock out a Missouri from a college football playoff. You can knock out a Texas or an LSU from a college football playoff. I think the SEC is getting. I'd be stunned if they didn't get 4 teams in the playoff.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. Same here. As it relates to this Auburn defense, we got a chance to hear from Bobby Petrino because this might be, of the games that he has coached, the best defense that he has to scheme up against. We heard from the interim, maybe possible new head coach of the Hawks.
Yeah, they're a really good defensive team. They've got good outside edge rushers. They're firm inside. The linebackers play fast. Their secondary is not afraid to play man coverage. Very familiar with their defense. They're very, very well coached. We went against them, that defense, every day in practice before. So they do a great job in their schemes and what they do. It's going to be a great challenge for our offense. We've got to be able to run the football and be patient, stay away from third and extra long, where they can tee off their pass rushers. So I think we have to be efficient. We have to really be efficient on first down.
I think this defense for Auburn is really interesting going into this matchup because this is Auburn's probably toughest test from a defensive standpoint for the kind of offense they're going to play against. What do you think might be the magic number for this Arkansas team to be able to feel comfortable with their defense, as badly as it's playing, to be able to get a win over the Auburn Tigers?
That defense wins championship thing, I think that's just so antiquated. So in today's college football, I say first and foremost, if it's one of the other elite defense, elite offense, I would much rather have the offense. I just think that's how the game's played. Man, Arkansas's defense is just not good. So how can Auburn score 27, 28 points?
Right.
Probably. I think for Arkansas to win this game, I think comfortably they're gonna have to hit 30. If you tell me Arkansas scores 30 points, I think they win the game. 20. If they score 24 and win, I'd be a little surprised.
Right.
Because I think about 24 is probably the best their defense can do. Auburn's going to score some points. I don't know the players, but Petrino talked about it. They have an NFL receiver on that team. Yeah. They have talent. They just haven't really figured it out. It sounds like maybe, possibly. I haven't heard this, but I heard somebody talking about it. I guess Hugh Freeze was alluding to maybe they could have a change of pace at quarterback here. Jackson Arnold, maybe.
Ashton Daniels.
You people there in Mobile, you got to be all over this.
Yeah,
I wish we would have gotten the interim bowl. Like, how college football would that have been?
I know.
Hugh Freeze gone. We got interim Bobby against interim whoever at Auburn. That would have been kind of fun.
The tank bowl in the NFL.
When Hugh Freeze was at Ole Miss, they were cheating like nobody's business.
Oh yeah,
they were cheating worse then than people are cheating legally now, kind of thing. But that said, I still believe in Hugh Freeze. I don't know why it's fallen out of favor. Those teams were disciplined and they played for him. When he was at Arkansas State, got the 10 wins, got those guys to play for him. So I don't know what's missing there. Liberty, Liberty's been a pretty good job. I know Jamie Chadwell's he's swimming in it this year. It's not going well, but pretty good job. They've had good coaches come through there, even back whenever they were a 1AA program. Hugh Freeze was probably one of the best coaches they had there all time. So I still believe in him. I just don't. And they may be closer than Arkansas. They've lost 4 games, only one of them by 10 points, and that was to Georgia. just Missouri is right around 15th in the country. I don't know where they're at in the poll, but I think they're top 15. You know, you're in overtime. You had your chances. I mean, they are right there. And their win over Baylor. Baylor, not just a guy, so to speak. They're not a great team, but that's better than any win Arkansas has.
Right. Right.
So it's a little surprising to me that Arkansas is viewed as the betting favorite.
Yeah, it is interesting, and I think it speaks a lot more to Auburn's lack of being able to put offense together. I think 24 is about a good number as well. If you can feel confident in the defense to be able to get it done. You mentioned the interim bowl, and that kind of like sends me down a different tangent here about the head coaching the openings, because for the longest time it was one all Power 4 conferences, and if you count the Pac-2, the Oregon State was in there as well. Now there is another SEC opening with the University of Florida. I always find these inter-conference coaching searches really interesting as well, because it's like, hey, what caliber of coaches X team gets as compared to what caliber of coaches Y team gets. Do you see there being any comparison at all, or maybe a race, whether it's an arms race or just a race to get the guy for Arkansas as it relates to Florida specifically, and then the rest of college football as well?
I'm gonna spin this back on you guys, because we're producing our show here. By the way, we're slammed this week. They had a 30-minute basketball.
I bet.
session
Yeah.
On Thursday night, we do 1 hour every single Saturday. I think it's for football. I think it's going to be hard for any team to hire. It will eventually happen. I just don't think the next year or two is the time. It's going to be really hard to hire a coach that's in the playoff. So so Thanksgiving, you want that Monday after Thanksgiving. Ideally, you got your guy. Maybe you're willing to wait after the conference championship games.
Right.
But then it's another 2 weeks until that first round of the playoffs. And heaven forbid, what if they win a game? You know, now you're getting into January 2nd by the time, you know, if that's your guy. So, which is why I think indirectly Lane Kiffin is going to be so freaking attractive. Because if they go 9-3 and miss the playoff, he's going to be the darling of the ball. Absolutely. So anyway, we're doing, you know, social media. Get me back on camera here with you guys. Social media, we do this stuff with, you know, the blind rankings. Okay. So we're doing a segment. Peyton Hillis, the former Madden cover athlete. Gerhard, we'll do it with you. So blind ranking potential SEC jobs. All right, number 1, Auburn, 1 to 5. Where do you put it?
Ooh, 3.
Blind ranking.
Sorry. 2.
Okay, you're going to put it number 2. All right, Arkansas.
3.
3. Oh, I think you may regret that one. All right, Kentucky.
Ah, crap! I do regret it. Actually, you know what? I don't. Kentucky will be 5.
Okay, all right. And now's the hard part. LSU.
That's where I regret it, because I would flip.
You got 2 left. Yeah.
I'd flip LSU and Arkansas. If I could take it back, I'm not gonna take it back though. I'm not gonna take it back. LSU would be 4, and I could even, you know, Johnny Cochran argue it, because I'm like, you know what? Hey, this is a program that is like that'll the pressure cooker is on. At Arkansas, I believe at least, if Sam Pittman's any indicator, they'll give you at least 6 years. LSU probably won't. So
a losing record in the year 6, and then number 1 we got Florida.
Florida's 1.
I think just about everybody can remember Florida. I don't know how old you guys are, but I am. You know, I'm old enough to remember watching Steve Spurrier coach there.
Yeah, same.
And win the school's first national title in 1996. Urban Meyer won 2 national titles there. Even Dan Mullen got really close to being, you know, I think he had a year where they lived in the top 10.
Yeah.
Florida's a really good job. I don't know why they can't figure. They've tried everything. You know, Will Muschamp, hottest coordinator in the country.
Yep.
That, you know, who's the next up and comer? That didn't work. Well, let's just go get the guy that everybody wants. Oh, Dan Mullen used to coach.
Right.
That kind of worked, but I think he pissed some people off, and then they got impatient. And then, let's hire the best mid-major coach. That's what we did with Urban. Jim McElwain, failure. Billy Napier, fired. And man, they did him dirty.
Yeah,
waiting to fire him, like waiting for the bye. They win the game, and you know you got the bye week coming, so you want to fire him on Sunday or Monday or whatever day it was. Yeah. They did him so dirty. But I think even similar to like the Penn State thing, they start to fear like, well, what if he starts winning and we kind of want to move on? Like, what if Franklin would have got to like 9-3 or 8-4 and Penn State would have kept? I think Lane. It's going to be a bidding war between Florida and Penn State. Yeah. I do think Lane's gone.
Okay.
You know, just strictly opinion. I know Lane's happy at Ole Miss.
Yeah.
I've been to Oxford. It's a great place. If Florida and Penn State, if zero information. I know Lane loves the internet,
Mm-hmm.
but if Florida and Penn State are willing to pay him $12-13 million a year, I don't think Ole Miss can get up to there. So I think he's going to be the most attractive kind of candidate that could potentially move in the job cycle. And if he stays at Ole Miss, God bless him. That is so much loyalty, and he's built a really cool brand there.
Another Kurt Signetti.
The come to the SIP thing, and they've been close, and they're getting players there, and he's revitalized his career, and he had that great line, I needed this place more than they needed me.
Yeah.
And he's so grateful for him. So it'd be a great story if they stay. And there's more to life than money.
Yeah.
But also, and I'm sure Lane behind closed doors would admit this. There's some hurdles at Ole Miss, and those hurdles aren't nearly as high at Florida and Penn State.
Yes. Yeah. That is a great way to put it. Just out of curiosity, before we let you go, what were your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Well, I don't do it blind because I know.
I know, but I'm saying, but for the show, what were they? What would they have been?
I would say I would go Florida 1, LSU 2, Arkansas 4, Auburn 3, and then Kentucky 5.
Okay.
But look, if you like cash and checks, Mark Stoops makes like $9-10 million a year. If he goes 8-4, he'll never get fired.
Yep.
But it seems like it may be time there.
Mm-hmm.
He's done a good job. He did elevate the program. He brought stability there. He made a lot of money. But it kind of seems like it may be time. I would be a little bit surprised if he got let go.
Right.
It seems like that job's going to come open. Well, I think one of the best jobs in the SEC right now is Vanderbilt. The pressure's low. Nashville's a cool city. They got the facility.
Yeah.
If you're a smart enough kid to where you don't have these delusions of the NFL, which 80-90% of these kids that play in the SEC, they all see NFL.
Correct.
I got a degree from Vanderbilt. I mean, it's up there with Ivy League schools.
Yeah.
Stanford.
Oh, 100%.
It's on that par. And you get to live in Nashville.
Yeah.
You get to live in like one of these smaller towns.
Absolutely. Trey, you are awesome, man. Thank you so much for all of your insight, and we will see you again down the road.
Later, guys. Take care.
Thank you. Trey Dare joining us out of Arkansas. That blind reveal is really interesting because I didn't know if he would have the LSU job open in there or not. So it is really interesting to see, if 5 jobs come open in the SEC, just the way they'll rank with all the coaches.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that Lane Kiffin will be a hot commodity in a few months. I'm still on the fence on if he's going to leave because, I mean, we talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
Henry made the whole PowerPoint, and he loves how slow everything is there.
Yes.
And I feel like Gainesville might be a little bit faster than Oxford.
Right, in a lot of ways. And there'll be pressure to win immediately, the kind of pressure he did not have when he first got to Ole Miss as a coach and revitalized that program. Trey Dare on all the things Arkansas as Auburn comes to town this weekend. Coming up next here on Southeast Sports Plus, we'll have much more as we get ready for another big week on the gridiron. Welcome back to Southeast Sports Plus here on a Wednesday. We're going to get out a little bit ahead of Thursday night NFL action. Is an interesting matchup as the Minnesota Vikings are playing the LA Chargers, and both of these divisions are really interesting. The NFC North is really interesting. The AFC West is really interesting. So two really hungry football teams going at it after another great week there in the NFL. 26 former SEC guys will be on the field on Thursday night football. A really interesting matchup here, Patrick, because in my opinion, these are two teams. Last year, Vikings exploded on the scene.
Yes.
The Chargers, obviously, they got Jim Harbaugh, and you saw that elevation there with Justin Herbert. This is a really interesting matchup, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a weird year for Minnesota.
Absolutely.
They thought they were going to get J.J. McCarthy back, and then he's back injured again, so now you got to go with Carson Wentz. And, it's been an up and down year for Justin Jefferson as well. So, I feel like it begs the question, is he still the best wide receiver in the NFL? And I feel like he is.
Yeah.
It's just he's not finding the end zone as much as he usually does. I mean, he's only got one touchdown, but still, he's got 500 yards already.
Yeah, and from a pure talent perspective, I think that it was probably not much of a question. If you were questioning it, you were just doing it against his old LSU teammate and Jamar Chase. It would be 1 and 2 in either direction. But it feels like we hadn't seen the gritty as much this year as we had in previous years. And here's a look at the former LSU star: 34 receptions on 52 targets, more than 500 yards, averaging a first down and a half.
Yes, that's still the telltale sign that he's still fine.
Yes.
I mean, it's bound to happen. It could happen this tomorrow. It could.
Right.
But, I mean, we'll see. There's still so much season left to be played. I mean, he's also got to learn these new quarterbacks. I know Carson Wentz was still there last year, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But, I mean, he didn't really play with him that much.
And the games in L.A. are always interesting to me in the same way the games in Dallas are, because the games in L.A. that have a good fan base, they travel well. It almost sometimes feels like a split crowd or a majority road crowd. I'm interested to see, because the Vikings do travel well. I'm interested to see how many Vikings make their way out to California there for that matchup there in L.A.
Yeah, I mean, especially it's especially apparent whenever the Niners come into LA and play the Rams, because I mean, the Niners fans just take over. It's like every year we see the pictures of SoFi. That's SoFi, and then it's just red.
Yeah.
And I'm like, come on, guys. Like, why did we move a team to LA if no one's going to show up? I mean, I felt like when they won the Super Bowl, no one really cared.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It just felt like it felt like LA got two teams, but it felt like LA.
They had the Chargers just down 2 hours down the road in San Diego.
Right. And they San Diego didn't build a stadium, and then the rest is history there. But it felt like two franchises like set up shop in LA more so than it was like how almost every other city is. They welcomed their team. It felt like LA was, or those franchises were just like, we're here and we're back. And it seems like that's the way that it went there. But as we mentioned at the top, a lot of former SEC guys that are on both rosters. We could point to the guys that are on the Minnesota Vikings heading into this matchup. Of course, we got to talk about Justin Jefferson there and going for the LSU Tigers, as well as Walter Rouse, and then Justin Skoll, also some Georgia and Alabama representation with Jonathan Allen. Also Jalen Redmond from Oklahoma, Chaz Chambliss from Georgia, Jonathan Greenyard from Florida, Austin Keys. How about Austin Keys from the Auburn Tigers representing, Dwight McGlothern from Arkansas, Theo Jackson out of Tennessee, Jay Ward from LSU, and Will Reichard. We saw him a few months ago here at the Senior Bowl at Alabama, now with the Minnesota Vikings. Meanwhile, on the other sideline for the Kansas City Chiefs, one of the Kansas City Chiefs' main rivals in that division, the LA Chargers, they have guys like Trey Harris, who went to Ole Miss, Keandre Lambert-Smith, who transferred from Penn State to Auburn, had a great year last year. Lamb McConkey went to Georgia. Bradley Bozeman, former Handley High School star, now at Alabama. Jameer Sayer out of Georgia. Austin Delkus out of LSU. Justin Ibogne out of Alabama, Bud Dupree from Kentucky, Kyle Kennard, former SEC Defensive Player of the Year out of South Carolina, and Dante Jackson, Tony Jefferson, Cameron Dicker, and KJ Scott. So a lot of representation for both squads here out of the SEC. Coming up next, we will have our best bets from Thursday Night Football straight ahead. Up shop here on a Wednesday on Southeast Sports Plus. We have a great football game tonight in the NFL between the Minnesota Vikings and LA Chargers. Lots of SEC representation, as we saw just a moment ago. But also now let's do something we've done with all these Thursday night games.
Yeah,
bets.
well, before we get into tomorrow night's best bets, I just got to go back to last week's, and I went 3 for 3. So give it up for you, boy.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. You know what? I'll give it up.
And the craziest part was about that last one, the over on the 1.5 passing touchdowns from Rodgers. I'm pretty sure on the show I said he was going to throw 3 as my crazy bet, and I think he did throw 3.
Yeah,
so I mean, I should have bet on it, but I didn't. But I mean, that's my best bet.
Patrick out here just giving you free money, guys.
Come on. Make sure you listen next time, guys.
It is free money out here. Speaking of best bets, you're on a heater. You want me to go first? You go first.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and go here.
All
so
right.
Justin Jefferson, I believe we just talked about it on the other side of that break. He's only found the end zone once this year. I believe he has another. This is going to be his big breakout game. Anytime touchdown at 150 there. And my guy from the Orange, Oronde Gadsden, he had his breakout game last week. Over 150 reception yards. Nice tight end from Syracuse there. He's gonna have another big game. That is 50 plus, sitting at plus 135 right now. And I gotta stick with my heater, Carson Wentz. He's gonna throw for at least 200 pass yards.
That's interesting.
That's my little safety one. I
like it. I'm on a similar theme as you with two of those players. We'll get to that in a second. First of all, Kamani Vidal out of the Sun Belt, anytime touchdown plus 115. That's not the greatest number, but I just feel like Jim Harbaugh is going to make sure as soon as they get in the red zone,
RB3 getting his chance, though.
Absolutely. That number at least tells you Vegas thinks similarly, only plus 115.
Wow, this next one, I'm shocked at these odds.
Justin Jefferson, 2 touchdowns, plus a G.
What?
Plus 1,000. And that might go back to what you were saying earlier. He only has 1 touchdown so far. I mean, it'll be basically double his total.
That's still shocking to me. It's still Justin Jefferson. We got to put some respect on him.
Exactly, yes. It's Justin Jefferson going on the road. I think that's kind of your long shot. And I'm going to also take Carson Wentz, but on the other side,
oh man,
I think this defense from the Vikings will put enough pressure and enough weird things in front of Carson Wentz that he reverts back to the same kind of reckless Carson Wentz that we've known from before. I think he puts one in the hands of the Chargers secondary. He throws at least 1 interception on Thursday Night Football. Nothing crazy, but I just feel like we'll see. And it might be one thing It might be one thing is the example for the other. I think that he will target Justin Jefferson a lot. That's the reason why I like your anytime touchdown. I like him getting 2 touchdowns. But the fact that he's going to force it in there so many times, I think at least one time the Chargers will read it and they'll get their hands on it.
I'd feel a little bit better about that if he didn't also have Jordan Addison. I feel like he's been able to target Jordan Addison. And Jordan Addison's really been the guy that has been able to find the end zone. But before we go here, I found this a little bit interesting. The NFL moving the Pro Bowl games to Super Bowl week.
Yeah.
And they're going to so for the longest time, it was in Hawaii.
That's right.
And then they moved it to Orlando. And now it's just going to go to wherever the Super Bowl
is. Yeah.
I'd be interested. I know we don't have too much time left. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts because personally, I don't like the Pro Bowl games. I feel like it's the least watched Pro Bowl of any sport. I'm interested here.
I'm with you on that. I do feel like there might be some more interest with it now being at the host site of the Super Bowl, just because there will be more eyes on that city at the time. You're thinking, let's just say it was last year where the game was in New Orleans. I think a lot more eyes there on the game might bring more eyes to the Pro Bowl games. I'm right there with you. It'll be on in the background. I really don't care that much. But if it's at the same site on the same week, see all these stars all in one place together. That might change things up there.
Time will tell.
Time will tell. Is that this February that we're going to it?
Yes.
Okay. Well, good deal. We'll see that later on this year, and we will see you coming up tomorrow here at Southeast Sports Plus from 2 to 4.